You already know what time it is. Welcome back into What Off Season, guys. Coming on today's episode, you know it's already week 14 in the NFL. You know I'm already wearing the Christmas hat. And yes, you know the playoffs are coming up in the National Football League. What is every team going to be asking Santa Claus for this year? What do they want going into the playoffs? What do they need to get better at in order to make their dream of a Super Bowl run? But before we dive into the episode today, we're on every podcast platform out there, and if you simply check the link in every social media page, it's every bit of content that the show is putting out for you. We're going to start off with the Buffalo Bills. What are they asking for Christmas this year going into the playoffs? I think they're going to be asking for consistency throughout the playoffs. In my opinion, the Buffalo Bills are one of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL. I know they have the good record, but realistically, I don't trust them throughout the playoffs. We've seen the stints of inconsistency. Josh Allen can really make some silly plays, and the defense is not what it was last year, and it hasn't been necessarily great this year either. I think the Bills are going to have to keep consistency, which is one of the main things, obviously, to get through the playoffs. That's what they're going to need if they want to make that Super Bowl run, to make the Bills Mafia happy, and to finally get a win in the Super Bowl. The Miami Dolphins, they are going to be asking Santa Claus to keep that defense elite right now. It's still one of the best defenses in the NFL. Tua Tagovailoa obviously doesn't turn over the football. He's been playing well so far in his early NFL career. And realistically, the Dolphins have a defense that could go to the Super Bowl and win. I still think the offense is obviously a few steps short from being able to make the run. But realistically, if there's one thing that the Dolphins want to keep up right now, they want to keep up that elite defense in order to carry them through the playoffs. I almost didn't put this team on here, man, but you want to talk about a team that's turning it around, going from, I want to say it was 2-5. Now they're 6-6. Bill Belichick and himself, the Patriots out there in New England. The Patriots, all they want for Christmas going into the playoffs is they want Bill Belichick, arguably the GOAT, to work his postseason magic. We always used to say, hey, man, you don't bet on Tom Brady, but we also knew that betting on or against Tom Brady, it was with Bill Belichick as well. Obviously, Bill Belichick is arguably, like I said, one of the greatest coaches of all time. And when you look, obviously, at his resume and what he's done, Bill Belichick always figures out a way. This guy's never necessarily had a top roster when he's won the Super Bowls. It's the same thing this year, and I'm not preaching New England is going to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm just saying if there's one thing that they do want right now is Bill Belichick to work his postseason magic. The Kansas City Chiefs, you're probably wondering right now, oh, what could they realistically ask for? What could they really want going into the playoffs? Well, what they are going to ask Santa Claus for is to not fall behind in the playoffs this year. You look at the Chiefs last year, falling behind by double digits in all three games. Now, obviously, a very magical run by Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City. We all know what happened, but don't count on that magic again this year. Kansas City is obviously the best team in football. They do everything well. There's not a thing that Patrick Mahomes doesn't do well. The defense is now coming around. What's so scary about Kansas City is everything they couldn't do last year, now they can this year. So the only thing they want is to just keep leads. Not that they can't play from behind, obviously, but they don't want to fall behind in the playoffs to a team that could maybe necessarily threaten them, like the Las Vegas Raiders. You're up next. What are you going to be asking for Christmas this year, Raiders? Well, I think John Gruden is going to continue to ask Derek Carr to be the top 10 quarterback that we know he can be. You look at Derek Carr when he's playing on his best days, he's got an arm, he can move, he can throw on the run. Derek Carr is not a terrible quarterback, and people earlier in the season wanted to try to rip him, and I'm like, look, guys, Derek Carr's doing the best that he can. I understand that the Raiders have kind of taken a step back the last 2 weeks in the NFL, but Derek Carr can be a top 10 quarterback, and this is not an unpopular opinion here. A lot of people believe this. Raider fans, I think if you're even not a Raider fan, you could see Derek Carr being a top 10 quarterback when he plays at his best. That is what the Raiders are going to want heading into the playoffs. A team that really just shocked all of us, losing to the Washington football team. Yes, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. And here's why they're going to be asking Santa Claus for this for Christmas. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be wanting the ability to put a team away and close out a game comfortably for Christmas from the big man himself before they head into the playoffs. You look at the Steelers, man, they haven't had necessarily a bunch of big wins. Yes, they won big over the Browns. They've won big over the Bengals, the Jaguars. We see that, but those aren't really teams we truly I think, in my opinion, and I don't think anybody else out there truly believes those three teams I just named that the Steelers have blown out are going to go far in the playoffs. We've heard of the whole cakewalk thing. And look, hats off to Mike Tomlin. Hats off to Ben Roethlisberger. Hats off to that whole team, okay? They're still only 11-1, still the best record in the NFL next to Kansas City. I do think Kansas City would beat them when they play rather in the AFC Championship. But the Steelers are going to want the ability to put a team away. They don't have that ability to, when they're up by 2 touchdowns, to go ahead and score that third one, to put it out of reach against the teams that they really need to. That's why the Cowboys were able to hang around. That's why plenty of bad teams this year were able to hang around with the Steelers. And yes, I would say the Washington football team is a good team, but overall, I think we all think they're a bad team, and that's how a bad team was able to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Or even if you don't want to call Washington a bad team, they should not have beaten the Steelers, and everybody knows that. Guys, if you've been following me on the social media, you know about my recent partnership, hopefully, with Prize Picks Daily Fantasy Simplified. Literally, it's the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports, and literally anything you can think about. They got the rule charts for everything. All you do is enter the over or under. Take your pick on the over or under on 2 to 5 players. Make it either a power play or a flex play. Put your entry in and then win your money. Check out my page for the rules and everything. But the best part about this, guys, is you can use my code OFFSEASON right here on the screen as you can see it, OFFSZN. Go download Prize Picks, use my code OFFSEASON to receive your first $100 matched on your initial deposit with the app. Guys, I'm telling you, it is literally the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. You better go download Prize Picks and use my code, guys. It's literally so simple. The Cleveland Browns are going to be asking Santa Claus for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt to lead the way for them through the playoffs this year. Yes, Baker Mayfield obviously coming off the big game against the Titans. And I've been saying, I don't really know what was up with that Titans defense. Hats off to Baker Mayfield, I guess, for that, but we know that's not who Baker truly is as a quarterback. This is a run-first team with a strong front on the defense. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are arguably the best backfield in the NFL next to teams like the Saints and next to teams like potentially the Ravens. The Browns have the best backfield arguably in the NFL. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they can obviously take off through the hole with it. They can catch a pass if they need to. They can run very effective screens. So the Cleveland Browns are going to want those running backs to lead them through the way to go on that Super Bowl run like plenty of people believe that they can this year. The Baltimore Ravens are going to be hoping and praying that they receive a version of Lamar Jackson that can actually throw a good football this year. That is what they are desperately wanting for Christmas right now. It's sad. You want to talk about, in my opinion, one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL this year. But I did say it last year. Lamar Jackson better have enjoyed that record year. He better have enjoyed all those rushing yards and all that dominance in the MVP year, because he was only going to have it for a couple years. Turns out that might have been just 1 year. The league has completely caught on to Lamar. He is a big reason for their 6-5 record, whatever their record is. But Lamar Jackson needs to be able to throw a good football to get these Baltimore Ravens to the Super Bowl that they should have been in last year. Speaking of the team that derailed their Super Bowl run last year, the Tennessee Titans are going to want to fix the defense to get it back to what it was. Now, they're still third in the league, still third in the NFL in turnovers, but by yardage category, they're not necessarily looking so good when you look at the rush and the pass yards given up per game. They're going to want to fix that defense to what it was before. That is what they're asking for Christmas before they make their run into the playoffs. The Indianapolis Colts, the one thing that they've struggled with for quite a few years now, I think the Colts have a top 5 roster in the NFL, but the one question mark that they've still had is Phillip Rivers. They want to make sure that Phillip Rivers is just good during the playoffs, can make a few throws when he needs to, can be smart, use his veteran leadership, make the audibles at the line, because Phillip Rivers has been the reason that this Colts team has not been as great as it could be. I called this team potentially going to the AFC Championship, and that's why you heard me talking at the trade deadline as well, and I've still been saying it. Matt Ryan should go to Indianapolis. You give Indianapolis a serviceable quarterback, someone that's just at least better than Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, primely and precisely, a guy who doesn't need to get beat up, one of the best O-lines in football in Indianapolis. They could be Super Bowl contenders, but going into these 2020 playoffs in the NFL, the Colts are just going to ask Santa Claus, hey, Please make sure Phillip Rivers is just good while we try to make our Super Bowl run. A team that is really surprising me this year, I had them finishing dead last in the NFC West, but they're actually rallying, and I wouldn't be surprised if they potentially see my New Orleans Saints in the NFC Championship. It's the Los Angeles Rams. They just want that secondary to keep saying lockdown. Honestly, the only thing they're going to be asking for is to keep that secondary locked down. Their secondary is amazing. Matter of fact, the defense is just downright amazing. It's an elite defense in the NFL. If you can get Jared Goff and that Sean McVay offense on a good day, these guys are definitely title contenders. They just want to keep the secondary and the defense on lock before they run into the playoffs. The Seattle Seahawks, a team that has definitely slowed down this year. A lot of people are high on Seattle, but I'm not a big advocate for Seattle this year. I know that they've got Russell Wilson, and of course, he's got the magic to be able to make things happen, but I'm not truly sold with that defense that has yet to really prove it to me that they could hang with the big defenses in the league. Look, we know the offense is there, okay? But you can only grind out so many games, and Russell Wilson can only be magical for so many games before it runs out. I think they just need to let Russ cook again. The Seahawks just need to ask Santa Claus to please let Russ cook again. Please let Russell Wilson get back to that first half of the season that he was playing roughly the first few games of the season where he wasn't turning the ball over, bombing touchdown passes, competing with Peyton Manning records. Now he is regressing. So the Seahawks are definitely going to want their guy back. Guys, of course, it's Christmas time, and if you're like me, you're probably still looking for the right gift for that certain someone or just whoever it may be. If you still are, you need to do some shopping at the gallery. It's a curated collection of photographs from all around the world if you just like good art in general. All the prints are made from 100% recycled aluminum, giving your wall that gallery finish. And right now, for the holiday season, the gallery is exclusively offering you 25% off your next purchase using the code Friday. That's 25% off your next purchase at thegallery.com. That's the gallery, Gallery, spelling right here on the screen for you, using the code Friday. The Gallery, create your perfect space. The Arizona Cardinals, all they want for Christmas heading into the playoffs is to Cliff Kingsbury to right the ship, for Kyler Murray to play better football, for the team to really come around to that team that we saw at the 5-2 record. And unfortunately, I feel like the Cardinals are a fool's gold team that I let slip right under my nose. I fell for it because you look at them now, they're not playing good football. I don't think they're the best team in the NFC West anymore. It's really turned around quickly. I truly think the Rams are the best team in the NFC West right now. That division is loaded. But if the Cardinals want to make that Super Bowl run like I potentially thought they could have earlier in the year, they're going to want Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray to right the ship and get everything back to what it was at the 5-2 record, get the defense back on track. Green Bay Packers, the number 2 seed in the NFC right now. All they want for Christmas is Aaron Rodgers to keep playing that 2014, 2016, 2020 MVP caliber football, turning back into the bad man himself. I'm totally convinced that when they drafted Jordan Love, that pissed Aaron Rodgers off, lit a fire underneath him, and he said, man, I'm going to lead this team back to another Super Bowl potentially. I do have them as one of the best teams in the NFC. Obviously, when Aaron Rodgers plays great football, we know what this Packers team can be. This was the team to beat in the NFC up until just a few years ago when Aaron Rodgers fell off, had the shoulder injury, but I feel like we're seeing him in potentially a better version than he was coming back, still having the crazy numbers, still having the shifty legs, still having one of the best arms in the NFL. On to their rivals in the NFC North, though. The Minnesota Vikings, talking about a team that started 1-5 and is now 6-6. Potentially, they could have won all of their games after starting 1-5. You want to look at Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. All the Vikings want is for those two guys to keep producing, keep on cooking, keep on working for that Vikings offense. Those are the two best players probably for the Minnesota Vikings right now. If you saw, I just put my wide receivers out. I had Justin Jefferson at number 8, right above Stephon Diggs. This guy is top 5 in the league as a rookie in receiving yards. He's got quite a few touchdown catches already, and this guy can route just about anybody up in the NFL. We know who Dalvin Cook is, arguably the best running back in the NFL right now, cutting it up on the scoring end of running the football. And honestly, just an all-out dog, a true monster for the Minnesota Vikings. As much as I hate to say it, man, being a Saints fan, we might see these guys again in the playoffs. We're ready for them, but we know that the Vikings are a good team right now, and they just want Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook to keep producing. My New Orleans Saints, all they are crossing their fingers for and hoping that Santa Claus brings them for the 2020 playoffs is whether it be Taysom or Drew, just good quarterback play to guide them to another Super Bowl ring. Obviously, it's Super Bowl or bust this year for the Saints. One of the best teams in the NFL, one of the greatest rosters in the NFL. This is the greatest Saints team they've ever had. You look at the defense being number one in the NFL, top five, however you want to put it. Obviously, the offense is still rolling. 8-0 the past couple of years without Drew Brees when he's out hurt. The Saints are just playing another great season. Let's see if they turn the regular season success into postseason and Super Bowl success. But the number one thing that they are going to want and that they need is whether it be Taysom or Drew. They just need good, not great quarterback play to guide them to another Super Bowl ring. And to round us out before we finish out the show today, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they literally, they want Bruce Arians to get it together and build a better offensive scheme to better set Brady up for success before they make their Super Bowl run, trying to go play in their backyard in this year's Super Bowl. Obviously, we see Tom Brady's numbers. I'd say Brady's having an average year at best. It looked like he was having good years, or rather having a good year, but then he ran into the Giants. He ran into the Saints, and he's been seeing ghosts in a couple games since then. The chemistry's just not there yet. Like I said in my Monday morning after pill a few weeks ago, Tom Brady got the talent right, but he got the culture wrong, and there's no question about that. Bruce Arians is having a guy try to air the ball out that lives on the intermediate passes, and Brady is just not used to the differences in the teams, in the cultures, in the players, and in the play style. That is going to wrap up today's episode of the What Offseason Sports Podcast, everybody. There you have it. Every playoff contender, in my opinion, and what they need to ask for Christmas before heading in to the 2020 playoffs. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everybody. Of course, you can check out the link tree in all of our bios. That's every bit of content we have. Any social media page you can find me on, check the link in the bio. Every bit of content that What Off Season is putting out. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, everywhere we are. We'll catch you guys next week. This is What Off Season signing out, everybody.